When do you think humans first started paying close attention to snowflakes? If you said Wilson Bentley in the 1880s, you would be in very good company. Most people think of him as the beginning of the snowflake story. And he is extraordinary and certainly one of my heroes. He always will be. But the snowflake story does not begin with Bentley. It begins 2,000 years before him in ancient China with a scholar sitting somewhere in the cold, looking down at something most people just walk through without a second glance. His name was Ying, a Chinese scholar living around 135 BC. He was working on a collection of writings about poetry and philosophy and the natural world. And somewhere in those pages, he wrote something so simple and so precise that it has echoed through 2,000 years of science and wonder and snowflake obsession. He wrote, "Flowers of plants and trees are generally 5-pointed, but flowers of snow are always 6-pointed. That's it. That is the whole observation, written over 2,000 years ago. But what a sentence. How profound. He called them flowers of snow. He noticed that while every other flower in the natural world leans towards 5 sides, snow flowers are always 6, always, without exception. He did not have a microscope. He did not have a magnifying glass. He was just looking. And he saw the most fundamental truth about snowflakes that science has ever uncovered. 6 sides, always 6 sides. We've known this for over 2,000 years because one man in ancient China looked down at the snow and truly saw it for what it was. And then for centuries, other people kept looking and kept seeing. Around 500 AD, a Chinese poet and prince mentioned 6-petaled snowflakes in a poem. He was not writing a scientific paper, he was writing something beautiful. And he noticed the same thing. 6 petals, 6 sides, the sky writing the same number over and over again in every crystal it made. And then in the 12th century, a philosopher decided he wanted to understand. He wrote snow as the ultimate state of Ying, meaning the dark, cool, feminine principle in Chinese philosophy, and completely possesses the number of water, which is 6. Every snowflake is 6-pointed. He was reaching towards something real, something it would take Western science another 400 years to begin to explain. The geometry of water molecules, the hexagonal lattice. He did not have that language, but he was asking the right questions. And then in 1555, something extraordinary happened in Sweden. A man named Olaus Magnus, the Archbishop of Uppsala, published a book about the people of Northern Europe, and in it, he included the very first known drawings of snowflakes. 20 different types, woodcut illustrations. Now, some of his drawings were accurate, beautiful hexagonal plates and columns that we would recognize today. And some of them were, he was looking at snowflakes and drawing some of them as tiny hands falling from the sky. He was looking as carefully as he could with the tools he had, within the moments he had. And in 1555 Sweden, what he saw was extraordinary enough that he drew it. 23 different types and published them in a book. The details may not have been perfect, but the impulse was what drove creativity. Look at this. Look at what the sky makes, look at all the different forms it takes. And an impulse like that is 2,000 years old and has never stopped, moving into Wilson Bentley and other snowflake enthusiasts. And then came Johannes Kepler, the German astronomer and mathematician who figured out how planets orbit the sun, one of the most brilliant scientific minds in human history. In 1611, he wrote a little essay as a New Year's gift for his friend and patron. And the subject of the gift was snowflake. He called it the 6-cornered snowflake. And in it, he asked the question that Ying had pointed towards almost 2,000 years earlier. Why are snowflakes always 6-sided? What is it about the nature of snow that produces this perfect hexagonal geometry every single time? He didn't have the answer. Molecular physics would not be understood for another 300 years. But he asked the question so precisely, so beautifully, that scientists still reference his little New Year's essay today. He was the first Western scientist to seriously grapple with snow and the geometry. He chose to do it as a gift, a wonder wrapped up and handed to a friend with the message, "Look at this. Is this not incredible?" The idea of giving someone a question about snowflakes as a present sounds truly in my lane and a beyond beautiful gift idea. Then Rene Descartes, the French philosopher and mathematician who gave us the coordinate system, who wrote "I think, therefore I am," who is one of the founding figures of modern philosophy. And he was traveling through the Netherlands in winter, and he looked up at the sky and saw something falling. He stopped, he watched, he pulled out his notebook. He spent time carefully observing and recording individual snow crystals as they were falling around him. He sketched them out, 6 different types: plates, columns, and dendrites, from the Greek word meaning tree, with branching arms. He described exactly what he saw with a precision that modern snow scientists still find remarkable for 1637. He wrote about hollow columns, about the way some crystals had flat caps on the ends, like little hats, about the branching arms of stellar dendrites and how each arm seemed to mirror the others perfectly. Rene Descartes stood in a snowstorm in the Netherlands in 1637 and drew snowflakes in his notebook, and I love him for that. This giant of philosophy and mathematics, most influential thinkers in human history, standing outside in the cold, taking notes on something falling from the sky because he simply could not walk past them without looking. And those are my kinds of people. That has always been my kind of people. And what I like to think about when I look at this whole 2,000-year-old story, Han Ying in 135 BC, our flower poems in 500 AD, Olaus drawing tiny hands falling from the Swedish sky in 1555, Kepler wrapping a question about snowflakes up as a New Year's gift in 1611, Descartes standing in a Dutch snowstorm drawing crystals in 1637, Frances Knowlton Chickering cutting paper snowflakes from memory at her windowsill in 1864, and then Wilson Bentley catching flakes on black velvet in an unheated shed in Vermont in 1885. Now me in my Colorado backyard with my collection board, 2,000 years of people looking at snowflakes and feeling that pull. That same pull, that need to get closer, to really see, to say, look at this and look what the sky made, look at this impossible, tiny, perfect, temporary thing. They are still six-sided, they are still unique, and they are still falling. And people are still stopping to look. And I hope we always will be. Be sure to check out the snowflakes in the online gallery, and I'll catch you next time.